Okay, so anyone listening to this is probably at least a little bit interested in Vancouver.
Right.
I mean, it's a pretty cool city.
Yeah.
And today we're going to dive into like all the different pieces of Vancouver's history and how it went from like indigenous land to like this huge global city.
Exactly.
So it should be a really interesting deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to learn about like the indigenous roots and like early European explorers.
Right.
There was this crazy fire that almost destroyed the entire city like right as it was getting started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that too. And
then its rise to like global prominence.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool to uncover all these layers.
It's going to be awesome. Okay, so first things first, we have to start with the people who were here first.
Yeah, of course.
So we're talking about the Coast Salish peoples.
The Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were here for like thousands of years before any Europeans showed up.
And they still are here. It's important to recognize that they're not just a part of Vancouver's past.
Right.
They're very much a part of Vancouver's present and future.
Totally. So much of like Vancouver's identity comes from like their deep connection to nature and the land.
Absolutely. And understanding that history helps us appreciate everything else that's come since.
For sure. So let's move on to the late 1700s. This is when the Europeans start showing up, right?
Yeah, you've got Spanish explorers mapping the coastline.
Okay.
And then a little later, you've got a British captain, George Vancouver, coming in.
Oh, right.
And of course, that's where the city gets its name.
Yeah, good luck finding a street or a building that isn't named after him.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the name, right? It's 1827 when things start to really change with Fort Langley.
Yeah, the Hudson's Bay Company built that.
Right,
It was
yeah.
a major trading post for the fur trade.
Right.
And that was really the beginning of like a permanent European presence in the area.
And the fur trade was like bloating at this point. So
Yeah, huge business.
Fort Langley must have been a busy place.
It was a pretty key spot. It really solidified the European influence in the region.
Yeah, and set the stage for a lot of growth.
For sure.
Speaking of growth, 1886 was a pretty big year for Vancouver. That's when it officially became a city.
It is a pivotal year, all because of the Canadian Pacific Railway, right?
Yeah, the railway finally connected the entire country.
Coast to coast.
And Vancouver was the western endpoint. It was suddenly this super important port, like a gateway to the Pacific.
Like it put Vancouver on the map, economically speaking.
Totally. But then in a crazy turn of events, that same year, disaster strikes.
A massive fire.
You know, practically the whole city burned down.
Imagine that, right?
It's crazy.
You build this brand new city, you're so excited about the future, and then boom, almost everything's gone.
It must have been devastating.
It was, but it's also a testament to the resilience of the people who lived there.
They didn't just give up, they rebuilt.
Yeah, and that grit, that determination to keep going really becomes a part of Vancouver's DNA.
It's kind of inspiring when you think about it. Okay, so now we've got this city, it's rebuilt itself, it's got this railway.
Yeah.
Where does it go from there? How does it become the Vancouver we know today?
The 20th century sees a lot of change, right? You have waves of immigrants coming in,
Especially from Asia.
particularly from Asia, and they really shaped the city's culture and identity.
You could see it in every neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like this amazing blend of so many different cultures.
And you can taste it. The food scene in Vancouver is incredible. You've got Chinese, Japanese, Indian, Southeast Asian. It's all there.
And it all kind of blends together to create something really special.
You won't find that anywhere else.
It's true,
Yeah.
but there's more to the story, right? Vancouver goes from being this regional center to a player on the world stage.
Right. You've got two major events that really push Vancouver into the spotlight. Expo 86 and the 2010 Winter Olympics.
Expo 86 was like a world's fair.
It was all about innovation, culture, global connection.
The whole world had its eyes on Vancouver.
They did. And then the Olympics, of course, showcased Vancouver's incredible natural beauty.
It's hard to beat those mountains and the ocean.
And it showed that Vancouver could handle these massive international events.
Totally. They weren't just like one-off things either.
No, they had a lasting impact.
Especially the Olympics.
I think so.
It seemed like it really pushed the city to think about sustainability and urban planning in new ways.
For sure, Vancouver had to figure out how to grow responsibly while preserving its unique character.
Which is a challenge a lot of cities are facing.
It's a tough balancing act.
So where does that leave Vancouver today? It's known for its natural beauty, its diversity, it's a leader in tech and film and trade. But it's also facing challenges, right? Like affordability, sustainability, and reconciliation with its indigenous communities.
All very real issues. It's like the city is constantly evolving, trying to find its way forward.
Yeah. So that's Vancouver, a city with a really unique story and a story that's still being written.
For sure.
I think that's what makes these deep dives so cool. You realize that every city, every place has all these layers of history just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. And it makes you appreciate these places so much more.
Yeah.
Knowing what they've been through, what they've overcome, and where they might be headed.
Definitely gives you a new perspective. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
Vancouver is a city that really makes you think.
It does.
How do we balance growth with responsibility? How do we learn from the past to create a better future? And how do we honor the people who were here long before us? I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But it's something we all need to be thinking about.
It is.
That's what makes these deep dives so great. They're not just about learning facts. It's about asking questions and challenging ourselves to dig a little deeper. So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions.
I love it.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Sounds good.